The stats show I was wrong about Auburn. But what do they say about Baylor?
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is, of course, your team each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and The Cam Show on YouTube. Appreciate you guys making this your first listen today and every day. Today, we're talking about why it might not say it in the rankings, but Baylor versus Auburn is a top 20 matchup in a really cool and interesting way. Also, Michael Trigg, we haven't talked about that dude enough, but he's actually probably the secret of what is a very potent Baylor offense and why NFL fans are going to start to take a notice to him real soon. We'll talk about that. Plus, the Big 12, and specifically one Big 12 school, should be furious with this Michigan ruling and what this means for college football going forward. All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. The stats are in, and Lord knows I love the stats. The stats are in from K Ford and their rating system. Kelly Ford, I love this guy's system. He does it week in, week out. All EPA, deeper line, that kind of sabermetrics, we'd call it in baseball. We see it with K Ford and his rankings here in college football. The preseason stuff has come out, and these numbers prove that might have been wrong about Auburn. I didn't ever explicitly say that Auburn's defense sucks. I never said that. Did I think they were great? No. Didn't. And the defensive ratings going into the 2020-25 season prove that maybe I should have said they're pretty good. Because you look at it here, if you're watching on YouTube, the top 30, Auburn is firmly in there at number 18. And again, this is based off of what they had last year and how they improved it this offseason. That's what K Ford takes into account here. When you see some of the other numbers, Texas Tech shows up a lot because they include Tech's excellent recruiting class in the portal, I should say, the portal class, which Auburn had a very good portal class as well. A lot on the offensive side of the ball, but here you go, top 20. And of course, it's a huge SEC flavor. Only one Big 12 team is ahead of Auburn when it comes to this preseason look at the defensive ratings, just the pure metrics. Only one ahead of them is Utah at 13. And I mean, let's do quick boy math here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 SEC defenses ahead of Auburn and only one Big 12 one. That's damning for our conference, right? You got to get down into the 20s to get Kansas State, BYU, Arizona State, the defending champs of this conference. A lot of SEC before you see some more Big 12. So maybe that worries you, the Baylor fan. Auburn's coming in here with a vastly improved defense and one that looks very, very good on paper. So when Zach and I have talked, and we'll talk again this week, we've talked about Baylor's got the offense. That's kind of a given. Auburn's trying to figure out their offense. And on the other side, Auburn's more or less figured out what they're doing on defense. Baylor has not. And so that becomes a very interesting, this makes it a very interesting matchup. And I think the closer we get to Friday the 29th, which by this time next week, we're talking game week, which is incredible. But by the time when we get closer to August 29th, this is going to be a gambler's dream, this game, because there's just such big question marks on either side. But a lot of exclamation points on either side too. So when we talked about it, I've had a couple of Auburn fans in the comment section, which love having them there, have talked about me just writing off Auburn's defense and underrating this Tigers defense. And maybe indirectly I have. But when I look at the numbers, I will say, yeah, of course, Auburn looks good on paper defensively. They do. But I would throw back at the Auburn fans, maybe you're underrating Baylor's offense. Because when I switch to the top 20 offensive ratings, there's Baylor right there, number 16. Auburn, I don't see them unless they change their logo. They're not in this top 30. and we do it with the defensive side of the ball. Let's do it with the offensive side. Don't even know where Auburn is on this list. They're outside of the top 30, but inside the top 30 from their own conference, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Florida, Ole Miss. I almost said USC. One of these years they will be. Georgia. Clemson's not there yet. Alabama, LSU. That's 8 teams ahead of them already. We don't even know where they are. 8 teams in their own conference that are ahead of them, at least. And there's Baylor sitting pretty at 16. An improvement. In EPA, they added almost 2 points a game this offseason, according to Kelly Ford. And before that, they were a top 20 total offense in points scored last year. They were top 20 for a team that started 2-4. So am I underrating Baylor, or excuse me. Yeah, maybe. Am I underrating Auburn's defense? Maybe. But are you underrating Baylor's offense? Probably. Because they don't play in the SEC. They don't play in the southeast of the United States. They don't play Missouri. They don't play Oklahoma anymore. They don't play Florida. So they must suck. In the minds of a lot of the people, not just Auburn fans, obviously most of that conference, they're playing in MLB and everybody else is in the Little League World Series. Good, because you got to the Little League World Series, you're in the Power Four, but Little League. I mean, that offense they've got certainly looks Little League. And they don't know who's calling the plays, which I'm not going to talk about today because I want to talk about that with Zach. But like, if you're an Auburn fan that feels good about this offense, feels real good about this offense going into the season, I got to know why. You've got an unproven quarterback who I think still has good potential. You've got very good receivers on paper. Absolutely. You need someone to get them the ball, and we all come back to quarterback. And you've got 3 different guys calling the plays. So what's going on here? I don't know how you can feel really good about this Auburn offense going in there. I know why you can feel good about Baylor's. Because they bring a lot of guys back from last year in the top 20 offense, and they added to it. And yeah, you can improve in the offseason. I never said that wasn't possible. And I know there was some good sound bites from Locked On Auburn the other day. The Baylor fans, or specifically the Baylor media, that think this way. First off, it's me. I have a name. It's Cam Stuart. You can even say Cameron if you want. I'll allow that. I'll allow my full government name out there. I'm the one that's saying that. No one uses my name. But all these Baylor fans that are so confident that they can beat Auburn. Based off what? Based off what? I would ask the same thing to the Auburn fans, whom I've loved having along for this ride. And I want fans to expect their team to do well. I want the Auburn fans to come in here and say why they're going to beat us. Of course, we would do the same thing. But you really wonder about Baylor's fans' confidence when that Auburn fan base is just saying they're going to come in here and win by 4 touchdowns when they haven't had a winning record in 6 years? Since Charlie Brewer was the quarterback of the Baylor Bears and Matt Rule was the head coach 2 jobs ago? That's the last time Auburn had a winning season, and they're wondering why we have confidence? Let's get you a good, nice, expensive mirror and ask where the confidence is coming from. That's all. That's all. Auburn top 20 defense, Baylor top 20 offense. It's going to be a lot of fun. Man, something's got to give. And some unit's going to look better on the other side. Someone's going to look good when Auburn has the football. Maybe it's going to be this renaissance of Jackson Arnold, and he's becoming the National Gatorade Player of the Year like he was in high school, and he's filling out that potential. Or maybe Baylor's got a defense. We'll probably find out on August the 29th, man. I cannot wait. I really cannot wait. This game is getting unbelievable hype, and I know Zach and I are huge parts of that. That's why we do this job. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So who wins out? Auburn's defense or Baylor's offense? Offense wins games. Defense wins championships. Which is it? Let me know in the comment section below which top 20 unit is going to take over game number 1 for each of these teams' football seasons. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. It helps me out a ton. We are getting perilously close to 4,000 subscribers before the start of the football season. We're like 80 or 70 away. So help us out, guys. Like, subscribe. We're the only ones bringing you Baylor football news 5 days a week. That is completely free and does not have anything to do with Baylor University. When we come back on Locked On Baylor, we're going to talk more about that top 20 offense. We're going to talk more about the guy who can completely unleash it and make it totally lethal that we haven't really talked about much in this offseason. That's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, a word from our sponsors for today's episode. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, focusing through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. When I'm on top of my hydration, I'm serious, guys, everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, my stuttering, my skin. But getting enough fluids every day is not always easy. That's why I've been loving Drip Drop. And let me tell you, this past weekend in Waco, Texas, United States of America, I needed a lot of Drip Drop, okay? It's a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes. 3 times the electrolytes of your leading sports drink, which we all know and love, and we love electrolytes. But here's where it's even better. 3 times the electrolytes with half the sugar of those major sports drinks that you're drinking right now. Seriously, Drip Drop is the way to go, folks. Right now, they're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits you too hard. So Baylor's got a top 20 offense. Oh, Cam, are you talking about at the end of the season last year or the beginning of the season this year? Yes. They've got a top 20 offense. They've got a top 10 quarterback. They've got maybe a top 10 running back in this country. They've got a top 2 or 3 receiver in the Big 12 conference. And they've got a top 10 offensive coordinator in America. That's just been the labor of love this offseason, seeing where everybody ranks on every list and why Baylor's offense is going to be special. But one name I have not talked about nearly enough in this offseason for why this Baylor offense is going to be special is the name Michael Trigg. If you don't know him already, get to know him. Okay? He's already been tabbed as a Mackey Award watch list for the top tight end in the country. Now, a lot of guys get put on those preseason watch lists, but again, Michael Trigg, sneaky last year, really improved his draft stock, got his college football career back on the rails, and now, after a positive 2024, is looking for a huge 2025. We talk about Sawyer. We talk about Bryson Washington. We talk about Josh Cameron. We talked about Ashton Hawkins a lot for his eligibility and how much this offense needs him to come back. And rightfully so. We should be talking about those guys for months and months and months, which is what we did. But Michael Trigg deserves to be up there as well. This guy's getting legit NFL draft buzz kind of right under our noses because we're talking about all these other guys. He doesn't talk to the media. I don't know. It's a Dave Aranda thing. Doesn't do it. Michael Trigg doesn't do it. But this kid's legit. And if you can take away anything from his season last year, where the numbers are still fairly modest for a guy who's looking to be a top tight end in America, 30 receptions, 395 yards, 3 touchdowns, just under 15 yards a catch. But if you take away anything from his performance in 2024, it should be this. Not many teams can match up with him. He's a matchup nightmare. Man, he's sitting out there at 6'4". He has room to grow as a blocker, and we'll have to see that this year for his NFL draft stock to go way up. But he's a freak of nature when it comes to running those routes, getting open, and catching the football when it comes to him. I mean, we're talking about a big target at 6'4", big hands, and sneaky pretty good closing speed. He's not going to be seen as a deep threat or anything like that. In fact, PFF, his grades are way the best at intermediate routes. But because he is so athletic, more athletic than your average tight end, which is getting more and more athletic by the year, okay? That's what makes him a big play threat. And he can bounce out of tackles like it's nothing. And I think back to the game last year that Zach Blackerby and I were talking about. Zach Blackerby of Locked On Auburn, if you've missed those. The game we were talking about last year, and it was mainly through Sawyer Robertson's struggles, was the only game Baylor played and won against a top 60 defense. The only one was against the Houston Cougars. And remember, Sawyer did not have a good game in that game. But you know who did? Was Michael Trigg. Okay, 4 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown, including a 42-yard reception, all in the first half. They couldn't line up against him. They couldn't match him. This was the only defense all year that made Sawyer Robertson look human, and they couldn't guard Michael Trigg. So when the chips were down and Sawyer really needed a guy, said, someone pick me up, help me out. Michael Trigg was that guy. And while I say the numbers are modest and he had some big games in there, it's important to remember we really didn't know what we had in Michael Trigg going into last season. And he didn't play in the bowl game, right? He was hurt. But we didn't know what we had. Here was a kid who was a former top 150 recruit, big-time tight end recruit at USC. Then he went to Ole Miss, more or less left the team or got kicked off the team at Ole Miss. There's still some gray area around there, but left in the middle of the season in 2023 and comes into Baylor as a guy on his last chance. Dave Aranda talked about it, and he didn't name these names, but he was specifically talking about Michael Trigg and Steve Linton. These guys were on team number 3. That's about your limit for a non-quarterback in college football, even in this weird day and age that we're living in. Third time has to be the charm, or else you're done. And this guy was kind of in and out of the lineup the first couple of weeks, was suspended for the Colorado game. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, is this kid even going to last the season? Because he didn't the stop before. And by the end of the season, Dave was really lauding him. He's talking about some of his leadership, talking about how big he was for the team out on the field. He was tremendous for them down the stretch. So we're really talking about like 9 games last year, 8 games, where he was in the lineup, taking meaningful snaps, was not suspended, was not hurt. And that's how much of an impact Michael Trigg made. Do I expect him to be, one of the captains that's talking after every game? Probably not. But he was a single-digit number last year. He's a single-digit number this year. As far as we know, that still stands for something. And in terms of the talent, it's undeniable. And so, again, when talking about some of these other guys, Josh Cameron last year here, really going to prove something to NFL scouts, right? Sawyer Robertson, first time going through the offseason as the guy, the starter, QB1, and what that does for him. Michael Trigg, you got your feet wet. You got situated with how we're doing it here at Baylor in this offense, in this program. Now you come in and they're still not talking about you. They're talking about all those other guys I've been talking about. But you come in for another full offseason after being here, realizing that this is my last chance and I have gotten it back on the rails. And now I'm going to get legit NFL draft buzz. Like now I'm a top 10, 8 or 10 tight end prospect in next year's draft. And there ain't that many tight ends that usually get taken. So I got to take my game up to this next level. Michael Trigg is one of the guys we should be talking about going into this season. He could take Baylor from a top 20 offense to a top 10 offense. He could take them from a team that's in the hunt if a lot of other things go right in the last weekend of the season to a team that is playing in Arlington come December. Michael Trigg holds the keys, potentially, to taking this from a very good offense to a great Big 12 championship kind of offense. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. How key is Michael Trigg to this 2025 Baylor Bears team? Let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 4,000 subscribers. because that would really make me happy. And it's completely free to you guys, and it helps me keep my job. And I know all the different fan bases watching want me to keep my job. Coming up next, we're going to give some shout outs for trivia. We're going to have a new trivia question, but most importantly, what Big 12 team should be furious about this Michigan scandal and what this means for college football going forward? All that's coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, today's episode of Locked On Baylor, of course, is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. I will not have a late night recording on Tuesday night because I will be at the Red Sox game thanks to Game Time. They're the ones that get me there. They and the T are the only two that get me there, and it's going to happen once again. You ever decided to do that, though, where you last minute want to head to the ball game, maybe grab a couple friends, family? It's game day. You suddenly realize, I want to be there. Cam Stewart says I should always be there if I have the chance to. I want to do it. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on the tickets, how about you splurge on food, drinks, merch, get a new hat, even invite a bigger group, bring some more people. Game Time makes it possible. They make buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch or kickoff. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. I'm talking you toggle that all-in price tool, and that price you see is the price you're going to pay. And the seat view is pretty big if you've got some poles that could obstruct your view. I know that's why I take it into account. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, and that, of course, is guaranteed. This Michigan thing is ridiculous, and we should all be mad about it, but there's a certain Big 12 school that should be mad about it as well. But first, let's catch you up. You've seen the glowing Netflix documentary about Connor Stalions, this great hero of college football, and whom in his shoes, working for his favorite team, wouldn't do exactly what he did. You remember how embarrassing that Netflix doc was? It's a very bizarre look at Connor Stalions, who is just going to get away with it, just the smirk on his face. That Connor Stalions smirk. Delivered Michigan a national championship. I don't even think it matters to him if he ever works for the Wolverines ever again. He won a national championship. And even after the NCAA investigated and said, yeah, there was a lot wrong here. There was a lot of lying. There was a lot of cheating. Michigan is still the 2023 national champions. They were fined $20 million. It could go up to $30 million, and that's not nothing, but all it is money for the University of Michigan. What does that matter to Michigan? One of the biggest endowments for a state school in the entire country. One of the best state schools in the entire country with a huge and very powerful alumni base. What do they care? 20 million, 30 million? I mean, they'll have the ball somehow to countersue to try and take that price down. But the fact that Michigan, all it costs them is money is insane. It is bad for college football in some ways. In some ways, it's very progressive for college football. I'll tell you why. First off, is it progressive? I hope it is. Because basically what they said in the findings were, look, we've got enough to throw the book at them here. But we've turned a leaf in the last couple of years in the NCAA offices. We don't want to punish these student athletes playing now who had nothing to do with the cheating. I understand that. I wish the NCAA would take that into account for more things. In fact, it is basically what they said about Baylor with the scandal that happened here 10 years ago. Most of the coaches gone, including the head coach, but we're not going to put a bowl ban on these guys to hurt these players that are playing there right now. And a lot of the college football world was floored by that, and not in a good way. But I actually do understand that. And I respect that. But nothing else happened. They're not vacating any wins. I mean, how many college football and basketball programs can you think of off the top of your head that a player got a meal paid for them and they have to vacate wins? Michigan cheated. They absolutely cheated and knew about it. They did something you are not allowed to do. They sent coaches to games to record the signs from the stands. And the NCAA has said they cheated. We can throw the book at them, but they're Michigan, and we won't. And that national championship banner will flow through the wind. We're not taking that down. Why? Why would I? That's what the NCAA is saying. And all that we learned from this is that they just lied and cheated their way through this whole damn process. Sherrone Moore literally admitting, oh yeah, I deleted text messages, after turning in phones and evidence to the NCAA that don't have those messages. He said, no, I didn't delete anything. A year and a half later, oh yeah, I did. Huh. Must have forgot. And so in some ways, as a college sports fan, you should be pissed at this. And specifically looking at it through a Big 12 lens, Oklahoma State should be furious for this. Specifically that Oklahoma State basketball program. They had 2 Title I violations, whatever you call that. Stage 1, Title I violations. They had 2. Michigan football had 8. And Oklahoma State got an NCAA tournament ban and scholarships reduced for a new crop of players and a new coach, Mike Boynton, who lambasted the NCAA for this decision. Of course, he works at Michigan now, Michigan basketball. But remember, he went on that rant against the NCAA. That put his guys' careers in jeopardy. It put his career in jeopardy for something that happened years and years before. For Michigan, nobody's getting punished. Like if you want to not punish the student athletes who weren't there at that time, fine. I get that. This is their coaches. Like even the ones who were there that are still here, like they shouldn't be punished. But Sherrone Moore getting suspended for games next year? Are you kidding? No show cause for Jim Harbaugh? Nothing? It's like it never happened. And Oklahoma State's sitting there thinking, what's the deal? SMU fans are sitting there thinking, what's the deal? I don't have any sympathy for SMU and the death penalty because they were caught time after time after time after time cheating. But is it any worse than what Michigan did? SMU was paying players in a way that you weren't supposed to be. Michigan was taking signs in a way that you're not supposed to. And they won the national championship. They found themselves a competitive edge that is not within the NCAA rules. On the street, you or I call that cheating. And all it's going to cost them is money. Because they're Michigan, champions of the West. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's, I think, bad for college football. I do think we should take into account when these things happen. We shouldn't hand down punishment to the current players when it's the old regime that did it. But to not give any kind of punishment really to anybody is a bad look for college football. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 4,000 subscribers. We are so close. If you know what's good for college football, like the video and subscribe to the channel and get involved in the comment section. Before we go, we got trivia. Good trivia to do. I got to do some shout outs because I obviously forgot to do it for Friday's episode. So I got to catch up here for the Thursday trivia question. Dwayne Jones on Twitter, Grant Mama 3322. You got it first on YouTube. That was, of course, during the Auburn crossover. That quarterback is Jarrett Stidham. I know, real tough one. To get you going on the Baylor trivia. And as for Friday's episode, I asked the question, when Baylor played at Boston College in 1999, because we're talking about Massachusetts, what Baylor coach was making his debut and who was the quarterback for the Boston College Eagles. That coach, of course, was Kevin Steele, and it got worse. I think the next week was the UNLV game, the infamous UNLV game. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. And the quarterback, a lot of you were getting close. I saw a couple of Matt Hasselbecks, but Scotty B, the Baylor King, got both of them right. It was Tim Hasselbeck. Matt had already gone to the NFL with the Packers, and Tim was still there. He's the one that's working at ESPN, which was the hint for you there. Today's trivia question for a shout out to tomorrow's episode. Baylor finished top 20 in total offense last year for the first time in a while. My question to you is, when was the last time they finished top 10 in points per game offense nationally? Top 10 points per game nationally. Let me know in the comments section below. Whoever gets it right first gets a next episode shout out. And yes, elephant in the room, this is a new hat. It is very cool. It's available at the Baylor bookstore and apparently some other places. It's probably the best Baylor hat I've ever owned. So yes, it is a new hat. You can find it through the Baylor bookstore. And let me just tell you this, to quote Seinfeld, it's real and it's spectacular. It's one of the best hats I've ever gotten, period. And I have a lot of them. So let me know the answers and your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know how great this hat is in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. We will see you on the next episode of your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.